My name is Helen, and if you told me a year ago that I would witness the impossible inside a cold hospital room, I would have laughed in your face. But what happened to me wasn't luck, nor coincidence. It was a pure and simple miracle, followed by an event that, to this day, makes me question the limits of reality. It all started on that rainy Tuesday. I was walking hurriedly through downtown, the cold water soaking my flats, but the greater cold was in my chest. In my coat pocket was the medical diagnosis for my daughter, Claire. Irreversible, they said. I was returning from the pharmacy with medicine we could barely afford, feeling the weight of the world crushing my shoulders. I looked at the gray sky and, with anger, whispered, "If you really exist, why the silence? Give me a sign, anything." That was when I lowered my head, defeated, that I saw something standing out on the dirty sidewalk. An antique brown leather envelope was there, on the edge of the gutter where muddy water rushed by. The strange part wasn't it being there, but the fact that it was completely dry, as if an invisible dome protected it from the torrential rain. I bent down and picked it up. Upon opening it, the ground disappeared from beneath my feet. There were bundles of cash inside, an absurd amount. Along with it, just a card with an address in a wealthy neighborhood and a phrase in elegant handwriting. For the one who has need, but will choose integrity before the cure. My heart raced. That money would pay for experimental treatments, pay for everything. No one was looking. The street was deserted. It was the answer, wasn't it? But that phrase, before the cure. I stood there for what felt like an eternity. The rain was washing away my tears, but it couldn't wash away my fear. $50,000, maybe more, enough to fly Claire to specialists in Switzerland. My hand gripped the leather so tight my knuckles turned white. "It's a blessing," a voice in my head screamed. "Take it! God sent it!" But then I looked at that dry envelope again. It defied physics. And that note, integrity before the cure. If I used this money, would I be buying her life with a lie? I thought of Claire's innocent eyes. Could I look into them knowing I was a thief? With a scream stuck in my throat, I stuffed the envelope inside my coat, not to hide it, but to protect it. I didn't turn toward home. I turned toward the bus stop. I had to go to that address. I had to know who was testing me. The ride took 40 minutes. I arrived at a massive iron gate in the hills. The house was dark, massive, and imposing, except for a single candle flickering in a downstairs window. My finger hovered over the intercom button. I was shaking, not from the cold, but from a strange electricity in the air. I pressed it. Silence. Then a voice that sounded like it came from everywhere and nowhere at once answered, "You are late, Helen." How did they know my name? I hadn't told a soul where I was going. My stomach dropped. The iron gates groaned open, not by machinery, but as if the wind itself pushed them. I walked up the long driveway, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The front door stood ajar. I stepped into a grand hallway that didn't smell like an old house. It smelled of lilies and ozone, the scent of the air right after a lightning strike. An elderly man sat in a high-backed velvet chair by the fireplace. He didn't turn his head. "The money," he whispered. His voice sounded like dry leaves dragging on pavement. I pulled the envelope out, my hands trembling violently. "My daughter, Claire, she is dying," I choked out, the words burning my throat. "This could save her, but it belongs to you. It's not mine." I placed the dry leather packet on the small table beside him. He finally looked up. His eyes were milky white, blind. "You passed the threshold, Helen. Most people take the money and run. They buy the medicine, but they lose the blessing." He stood up, and the shadows in the room seemed to bend around him, vibrating with energy. He pushed the envelope back toward me with a gentle hand. "The money is yours. It was always yours, but it is the least of what you will receive tonight. Go home, now." The urgency in his voice sent a jolt of electricity through my spine. I didn't ask questions. I couldn't. I burst through the front door of our small apartment, gasping for air. It was quiet. Too quiet. Usually, the rhythmic mechanical hum of Claire's oxygen concentrator was the soundtrack of our lives, a constant, cruel reminder of her frailty. But tonight, absolute silence hung in the hallway. Panic, cold and sharp, seized my chest. I dropped the leather envelope on the floor, thousands of dollars spilling out onto the cheap carpet unnoticed, and sprinted down the hall. "Claire!" I screamed, terrified of what I would find. I slammed her bedroom door open, bracing myself for the worst. But I didn't find tragedy. I found light. A soft golden glow filled the room, emanating not from a lamp, but seemingly from the air itself, pulsating gently. The oxygen mask lay discarded on the rug. The machine was unplugged. And Claire, my Claire, who hadn't had the strength to walk in 6 months, was standing by the window, pressing her hand against the cool glass. She turned to me, her cheeks rosy, her eyes bright and clear, devoid of the pain that had clouded them for so long. "Mommy," she said, her voice strong and musical, completely free of the wheezing that had haunted us. "The nice man. He came to visit while you were gone. He just held my hand and told me to get up." I froze. The blind man? He was across town. I had just left him. It was physically impossible. But looking at my daughter, standing strong in that impossible light, I knew that the laws of physics had just bowed down to something far greater. I walked over to the nightstand, my legs feeling like jelly. There, right where the rows of pill bottles used to be, lay a single, fresh, white lily. The scent was unmistakable. It was the exact same smell of ozone and flowers from the mansion's hallway. But what Claire said next froze the blood in my veins. "The nice man. He said he forgot to give you the second half." She pointed to the hallway. "He said the money is for the body, but the box is for the truth." I ran back to the hallway where I had dropped the leather envelope in my panic. The thousands of dollars were still there, scattered on the cheap carpet like autumn leaves. But the leather envelope itself had changed. Resting on top of the pile of cash was now a small, heavy box made of black iron, sealed with red wax. I hadn't brought this in. I reached down to touch it, and a shock of cold, like touching dry ice, zipped up my arm. The wax seal had a symbol I didn't recognize, an eye inside a triangle. Inside the box, something rattled. The blind man had healed my daughter, yes, but he hadn't just given a gift. He had initiated an exchange. I looked at the clock. It had only been an hour since I left the mansion. I knew, with terrifying certainty, that I had to go back. I drove back to the hills, the black iron box heavy on the passenger seat. The rain had stopped, replaced by a thick, suffocating fog. When I pulled up to the address, my headlights cut through the mist to reveal nothing. The massive iron gates were rusted shut, wrapped in heavy chains that looked like they hadn't been touched in decades. A faded condemned sign hung crookedly where the intercom used to be. The manicured driveway I had walked up just hours ago was cracked and overgrown with weeds. I stumbled out of the car, gasping. It was impossible. I had just been here. The smell of lilies was gone, replaced by the damp scent of decay. I looked down at the box in my hands. It was the only proof that tonight wasn't a hallucination. With trembling fingers, I broke the red wax seal. Inside wasn't gold or jewels. It was a leather-bound journal glowing faintly. The first page was freshly inked with my name and a single instruction. "The world is broken. You have been chosen to fix it. Your mission starts at dawn." I looked back at the empty, ruined house. I wasn't just a recipient of a miracle anymore. I was now its guardian. The money saved my daughter, but this box just claimed my life. The blind man wasn't a donor. He was a recruiter, and I had just signed the contract. And you, watching this, Do you believe there are forces at work that recruit us when we least expect it? That our darkest moments are actually interviews for a higher purpose? If this story gave you chills or made you question reality, please hit that like button. It helps us find others who are ready to wake up. And make sure to subscribe and click that bell icon. This wasn't just a story, it was an introduction. We have the journal, we have the mission, and I'm going to share every step of this journey with you. Welcome to the channel.